Well, there's so much on the line with this setup this year because of what happened last year, because of the 10 years in a row they missed the playoffs. And I mean, this is a town that I suspect guys are going to have a lot of tough love involved with this team right off the go. And that schedule, I mean, that's as loaded as you're going to see a schedule and degree of difficulty that I've ever seen one.
Yeah, this team is a giant mystery, like some of the guys were talking about inside. You've got, you know, is this the team of 2 years ago that was a game away from going to the conference final and finished with 103 points? Or is it the team that couldn't get out of its own way last year and was out of the mix by December? Largely the same group. It's just, you know, who are they going to be this year? And it's really interesting to see. And out of the gate, like you said, if things go a little bit south, you know, you get that here we go again mentality. That could be a real death trap early on.
I think the general manager is gambling on the, I don't want to blow it up, I'll just go with the team that was good 2 years ago and hope that they get back to being a reasonable facsimile of that team, which is always dangerous. It's much the same as holding on to older players because you have some loyalty to that team, and you, rather than cut them loose and say we're going to bring in some different people. And I know he didn't want to blow it up. I still think it's the same situation. They don't have a first line right winger, and they don't have a veteran offensive right shot defenseman.
But do they have a power play? That's the big question.
Well, then the power play is, you know, there's no one defenseman on the team who's a 60-point defenseman who can run the power play. And, you know, they have some young defensemen that in time might be power play point guys, but they still didn't remedy the two biggest holes on the team over the summer, and they nibbled around the edges with role players who've got some leadership qualities, feeling that they needed that in the room to replace Matt Hendrickses and stuff. But the nut is they didn't replace the two things they needed to replace, and we'll see if some other guys step up.
Well, the notion of standing pat wasn't entirely strategic. He didn't have a lot of options. Like, there's not a lot of salary cap money, and if you trade away a forward to bolster the defense, then you've really weakened yourself at forward, and vice versa. There weren't a lot of depths. Isn't a lot of depth in the key positions, so he basically brings back the same team with a little bit of work around the edges and crosses his fingers that a lot of the guys who underachieved last year can get back to where he hopes they can be this year.
Year after year after year, we seem to go into these things, may I say, overestimating the depth of the prospects coming along.
Over-promising.
And I really like that concept they've been talking about recently about making you climb the ladder and work your way into it. But all of a sudden, you know, the pick from last year's draft, I'm hearing he might be able to start the season here. And, you know, I don't know about PRV and where he's going to set in and where Ratty fits into this group and anybody on that right side. How do you guys see where that is and is going?
Unless Yamamoto scores a pile of goals in the preseason, he's starting the year in the minors. Yeah. On the first line, playing lots with Marody and Benson, and then proving to the Oilers that he's too good for that league, and then you bring him up rather than say, okay, you're on the team, and then we'll see what happens. I think nationality aside, I think if you ask Leon Draisaitl, he'd like to see Reeder on his line, on right wing or left wing. He can play both sides. You know, like most teams got at least one established right winger. You can say, okay, we know for sure this guy's in our team. The Oilers are a strange team. They always say you build your team down the middle. The Oilers are fine down the middle, but they don't have any wingers. A lot of teams got lots of wingers, and they don't have anybody to get them the puck.
Helicopter lines and
lines. So the Oilers are far different. They don't have an established even left winger. They have a center playing left wing. So let's put it this way. It's not like Las Vegas that has that one great line they had last year, and then they just got Stastny and Pacioretty for the second line. With Alec Tuck or the coach Gerard Gallant goes, I got two really good forward lines. Let's go, baby.
Well, Rob, what about, I mean, you're looking at people from the outside in the great distance saying, come on, guys, the Oilers are in the playoffs. They got Connor McDavid. I mean, shouldn't it be that simple?
Well, it should be pretty close to that simple. It's not the NBA where, you know, one guy can carry a team. Hockey is one of those sports where you do need 20 guys, and if there's some weaknesses in some key, but you've got Connor McDavid. You can't miss the playoffs 3 out of 4 years. You're wasting one of the great talents. But to just be out of it in December and January like they've been in the past is not acceptable. You have to be better. And on Chiarelli, like, you know, you traded a Hart Trophy winner, and you missed the playoffs 3 out of 4 years with Connor McDavid. That's a tough one to go into the office and say, how's the new contract coming?
It's not like football where the Patriots can be average, but they got Tom Brady, and you say, oh, we got the best quarterback in the league, we'll make the playoffs, or Aaron Rodgers. You can have the best player in the league, Connor McDavid, but he plays 20 minutes a game. There's 40 other minutes.
22 this year.
22. Well, there's 40 other minutes. So, Pittsburgh wins a lot of cups because it's just not Crosby. There's half a dozen really good players for him to play with, and elite players, not just good players, elite players.
And look at the Penguins without Crosby. They still get by pretty well. Take McDavid out of this lineup.
You want to talk goaltending, Matty?
This team can't afford average goaltending to make the playoffs. They need goaltending that's going to steal them 6-7 games. That's 15 points. And they missed by 17 last year. So they need those sort of goaltending things. And I think it's a quandary. They brought in another goaltender, Koskinen, thinking, maybe you can put some pressure on Cam. But coaches, they're thinking the present. If Cam starts the season well, they're riding Cam Talbot every game. And Cam likes to play a lot. And all of a sudden, it's November, and the guy's played 3 games, and he's Laurent Brossoit again. And you're thinking,
$2.5 million.
$2.5 million. It's one thing to have Brossoit at 650, but it's another when you're paying $2.5 million and your backup never plays.
And you're grinding Darnell Nurse for a couple $100,000.
So it's difficult.
My biggest concern, Rob, is defense. You?
Yeah, I mean, in large part, it was the same group that did so well 2 years ago. Last year, there was a lot of stuff. They had some reasons. Like Sekera was out. Adam Larsson went up through all that stuff with his father. That was tough in midseason, flying to Sweden and back a couple of times. Oscar Klefbom was playing hurt. So there are some reasons there to believe that if everybody is healthy and together, that it can get better. And then right out of the box, Sekera's hurt. So, I think they can be better than they were last year. But Sekera he ate up a lot of minutes. He's in all situations. He's a guy that's harder to replace than you would think. And they brought in some fringe guys around the edges. Maybe Bouchard can play in a 6th position. I wouldn't, be asking him to do much of anything. So they can be a little bit better, but losing Sekera right out of the box is cause for concern. And if Darnell Nurse comes in late and misses a little bit of time, with those guys, you're a little bit behind, and then it weighs on your head. You're the guy who held out and you're slumping. Your season can go sideways in a bit of a hurry. So
they don't have a lead dog on defense.
Right. Who's their number
There's
one?
no lead dog.
There is a positive, perhaps, in that Sekera situation. Is
money.
Opens up, 4.6 in the salary cap.
Yeah, but they're not going to use that till they see how the team plays. He's not using that off the hopper. He'll wait a while before he has to use that card. And he's got that money per se, but the minute Sekera is healthy enough to play, and all of a sudden he's used up that $5.5 million, then he's got to get rid of somebody else because he's way over the cap. So
yeah, maybe somebody will be looking for a $2.5 million backup.
yeah, or you know what? Maybe middle of November he'll be looking at his team, says I got to get another defenseman, and then Sekera can't come back till January, but at least he's got 6 weeks of finding another defenseman, and then we'll see what happens.
Quick round before we get out of here. Where are they going to end up?
Wow, I kind of think that so many people underachieved last year that they'll find a way to get it down to the last week of the season. Whether they get in or not remains to be seen. A lot of things have to go right, but I think they'll be in the hunt in the final week.
Third, they're trying to finish third in the Pacific Division to get one of the 8 spots. They'll be scrambling to be the 8th seed, which is fine. Get in and see what happens. Any better than that? You know what? I just don't see it because the Central's really strong, and 5 teams could come into the Central, all better than anybody out of the Pacific. 8th place is the best I can see in the Western.
So much went wrong with this team in so many different directions. The power play, the goaltending, the things that happen on defense. I got them in the playoffs, and I think if they get there, they'll do fairly well there.